for many of us to remove the context from this conversation of like the racial history in America. And I mean, the reason why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling because of the relationship with police and black men in particular. But I often think about who, like, when we're having these conversations, who are they for? Who is it for? Like, I don't need to like bring that up because black people know. And if there are people who find themselves watching that video who are more sympathetic to the police, I would also ask them to remove the context from this conversation and just watch the videos, all of them. And you'll see that at every moment that there is an opportunity to de-escalate, the police are the ones that are escalating it. Those are the people who are supposed to be trained in the calmest and most comfortable in those situations. And it seemed like even when you look at the Calais Campbell video or the Jonnu Smith video, those guys are calm and reasonable and thoughtful about the things that they are saying. And it felt like it was always the same officer. And I think it's important also to point out that in those videos, you see that the other officers are recognizing in the moment that that one particular officer is going above and beyond. And they are like hinting towards him, but at no point do they say, hey, stop it, you're making this worse. So that's the scary part. And the what if if it wasn't Tyreek is the thing that I think stands out in this, because it reminds you that there's no more obvious place than outside of the Dolphin Stadium, a black man with lots of muscles, a gold chain, and a Ferrari. He's probably someone that you guys should think twice about treating this way. Imagine if those things aren't there, what they must be doing, or at least what that officer must be doing in other situations.
That was unnerving just watching it again.
Yeah.
Honestly, it just to piggyback what Dominic says, I think a lot of black folks can really understand how Tyreek Hill feels in that moment. I think most black folks have had incidences where you've been uncomfortable in those type of situations. I think the thing that stands out to me in that situation is like how ego in that situation can really inflame everything that's going on. Because Dominic, you talked about police jobs, and listen, I don't want to underestimate how hard it is to be a police officer. There's so many things that they have to deal with that I know I wouldn't be able to deal with it.
Right.
But in that situation, it's your job first and foremost to de-escalate the situation. I think Tyreek Hill's maybe he was a little bit aggressive in the way he was talking initially. But I think ultimately, as a police officer, it's your job in this situation to say, you know what? I'm literally stopped. It's a traffic violation. How do you go from a simple traffic violation to basically pulling a man out of his car, handcuffing him face down on the pavement, then forcibly, when the man is telling you, like, listen, I just had knee surgery, and you're still like forcibly, being aggressive to that man? Like, none of that is necessary. And so for me, again, I'm watching that and I'm like, damn, like, here we go again. Why is this happening again? And all I can say is, I thank God that there is body cam. That's been the biggest thing that's happened in recent memory, is the fact that we have body cam in this situation to show the whole picture of what's going on.
Body cam's a start. Repercussions is the next step.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that the responsibility for the officers that are there, the ones that are overreacting and the ones that aren't, is to de-escalate the situation.
Right.
And to take control of that situation. And like the name George Floyd hasn't been brought up. Like, this isn't as serious outcome, but that's the same situation where there were other officers there. There are other people there and other officers there who can step in. And we noticed at points, I think the Jonnu Smith one, where one officer's telling him to leave, which is de-escalating situation. The other officer comes up and says, no, now you have to deal with me. It's like, take a deep breath. You said ego. Take a deep breath. What's the thing that could make this get worse? It's you acting like that. So, like, turn it down, and it feels a lot like, and I don't want to play pop psychologist, but it does feel often like, how dare you, who are you to talk to me like that? Right. As if they feel that the people that they are meant to serve are lesser than them. And how dare you roll your window up on me? Oh, now you have to deal with me. Who are you talking to like that? Like, that type of stuff.
Teach you a lesson.
Yeah, like.
So you heard what the gentleman had to say. I thought what they were saying was absolutely insane. I thought what Dominique Foxworthy was saying was insane. I thought what Damien, Damien, let me get his name right. Damien, what he was saying was absolutely insane. And I got to say this, and I don't care who it offends, but y'all know me on this channel. I'm going to say what I believe. That's my obligation to the audience. I got to say what I believe. It's up to people to agree or disagree, but you got to know that when this guy is talking about these things, he's giving you his real viewpoint. At a certain point, I feel like these guys felt that we have to say these things because we're on ESPN. And we got to take this hardline position without really thinking this thing through carefully. Let's assess what these gentlemen were saying. They were basically saying, let's start off with Dominic. He was saying, he went into the history of what it's like to be black. And we all know this, right? We all know this, especially if you're black. We all know this is not new information. We all know this. We're all hip to what's going on. So to get into that, and then he gets into this thing of, well, you know, the officer did this, he did that, he did this, he did that, he did this. First of all, as I wrote in my comments initially, the officer was on one. It looked like somebody that was looking for any reason to just flex his power, flex his muscle. There are people like that. They're just itching for a reason. There are people like this that work at certain government agencies. There's a point when I was trying to get my passport renewed somewhere, and then the people there, because it was certain persons, head of security, treating people like trash because he was in a position to do so. He was a go-between. You need to get between this guy. There are people all over the place like this, right? That just abuse their position. And some of them are just waiting for an opportunity to do so. And that cop did exactly that. He was already angry. You could tell by his tone, and he was just looking for it. You have that aspect of it. What Dominique failed to point out was the role that Tyreek Hill played in it. Now, there are a lot of people out here, and surprisingly, these are black guys that are saying that, oh, they don't see anything wrong. They don't see anything wrong with what Tyreek Hill did. Respectfully, do you guys live in Narnia? Do you guys live in an alternate universe? Y'all must be on Earth 52. Because I cannot understand a black man acting as if he doesn't know what would most likely happen if you behave like this in front of a police officer. What black person, what black guy is acting like as if he doesn't know what will come next? That's the first thing, right? If you listen carefully, this was my takeaway. Tyreek was able to get away with